edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU.
Today I'm joined by Paul Pierce II, Associate Athletics Director for Inclusive Excellence at KU. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Steve. Excited to be here.
So tell me a little bit about this position. I know it's relatively new, so it sounds like you've kind of got a lot to say in what direction you want to go with that.
Yeah, so let's see, in the spring of 2020, I was asked to step into the interim role. I was the Assistant Athletic Director for Compliance at that time, which basically oversees all of our institutional policies and procedures, Big 12 conference legislation, NCAA legislation. But I always had an interest in diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and throughout my career, I've always supported that space. Fast forward to some leadership changes, and then Travis Goff arrives, and in the summer of 21, we began to have conversations about, hey, Paul, maybe this is something you might be able to do full time for us. You have a good skill set, you're educated in the area, and that's how my position was created, July of 2021.
And it seems like there is a lot of momentum in the DEIB. I mean, I know at J School it's a point of emphasis, and can you talk about that and how that's really played a role in maybe making this position a great fit?
Yeah, it's awesome, to be honest with you. The awareness that's been created after the summer of 2020 with the murder of George Floyd, really opened the eyes to a lot of people who may have, been aware of conversations, who maybe not were active in the space, but really encouraged some folks to jump into the space and really try to help create better opportunities for our marginalized community members. And so the awareness has really helped us have conversation. Honestly, with our corporate sponsors, Adidas has really made a commitment as a apparel company of wanting to do greater in the area, and they really focus on their college campuses to help that initiative go forward. So it's been really great to utilize their support as well.
And I believe you graduated in 2015 from the journalism school, strategic communication. What was your plan when you graduated? I mean, were you thinking compliance, or how did this happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was a direct admit into the honors program. And as a result, I got to meet with Dean Brill on a quarterly-ish basis freshman year. By the time sophomore year rolled around, we had a great relationship and a great rapport established, and she kind of knew I wanted to get into athletics. Back then, I wanted to go to law school. That was the goal. My folks went to here at KU Law, and so my plan was to get into some kind of strategic communications, do like corporate legislation tied to sport, sales, and the like. And when I fell into compliance, that's when I realized there was a whole other world in college athletics I wasn't aware of. So it really turned into something unique. And actually, at the same time, which is kind of fun fact of the day, I was a male practice player from the women's basketball team with Bonnie Hendrickson. So, a lot of people think that's how I got my start in college athletics, and that was just because I got lucky one day at the gym at the rec and ran into a couple cool people. But it's really Dean Brill. So
are you one of the all-time great practice players?
Yeah, I like to think.
They're gonna hang your jersey?
I like to think so. We had a pretty solid group. That was back when we went to back-to-back Sweet 16s with Bonnie, and so Angel Goodrich, Monica Engelman, Carolyn Davis. Yeah, we had some good groups. And then my second year, my sophomore years with Asia Boyd, Natalie Knight, the Gonzalez twins were here, and so that was a really fun time.
And I know we talk a lot at the J School about transferable skills, and I know you said Travis Goff, he said, hey, you've got the skills we're looking for. What do you think some of those skills are that have, helped sustain you for the last 7 years?
Yeah. Well, quick shout out to Travis Goff, being another William Allen White School of Journalism grad. But really the communication skills, the ability to do research and to communicate maybe complex items in a way that other people can understand, those are really, I use every day. Our semi-poetic style of writing here at the J School that transfers over to email correspondence, writing game day scripts. I do all those things, even though my job doesn't reside in maybe the communications department or in the marketing department, which would be more natural fits for J School grads. Really, a J School degree will help prepare you for anything that has to do with communicating to other people.
Nope. Yeah, I truly believe that. And I think you mentioned your parents went to KU.
Mm-hmm.
So was KU a pretty easy choice for you, or were you looking at other schools, or how did the KU connection come about?
Yeah, I haven't thought about that in a while. So, I'm a second-generation Jayhawk. My folks are all Big 12 folks. So, I had a cousin who played football at Oklahoma. I had some aunts and uncles who went to K-State, who went to Texas. I have a couple cousins who went to Mizzou, and we don't talk to them very much. Just kidding. I love them to death. But really, I knew I was going to be in the Big 12 footprint. I loved KU from the time I was born, so I kind of knew I was going to go here. Law school was really the only opportunity that I kind of looked at other institutions because I knew I was going to go to KU as an undergrad.
And after you graduated from KU, I think you spent some time at K-State in Northern Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when you kind of shifted more towards that compliance and you could kind of see things come into place?
Yeah, so just a little bit of career background. So after I graduated from the School of Journalism in 2015, I went into a graduate assistantship in the compliance department. So by that time, I had about 2.5 years of internship experience in college athletics, which was a product of transition. And so our current GA at the time went to Texas Tech. So I was able to step into that GA role that I was only in for about 6 months before K-State had a full-time opportunity in compliance. And that's when my career really took off in the fall of 2015. And between then and now, had 6 or 7 different titles, 3 different institutions. And when I got to Northern Illinois in the fall of 2018, that's when I led my first compliance office as a department head. So that was my first taste of organizational leadership, strategic planning, budget management, supervisor experience. So that's really when my really big strides in my professional development took place. And
do you have much of a team right now that reports to you?
Currently in this role, I don't have any direct reports.
Okay.
Being a brand new position, that's something I've identified I'm going to need some support in. So whoever's watching, if you have an interest in diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging tied to the college athletics place, please reach out. But currently, I don't have any direct reports. At Northern Illinois, I had 3 full-time staff members, 2 GAs, and 4 or 5 different externs who reported me at the time.
And again, you talk about the K-State, Northern Illinois. I always find like the best situations when you move from a job to a different job, you try to pull some of that experience and apply that to your new role. Has that been the case with you?
Absolutely. Each of the opportunities I've had at different institutions and even different roles that I had here at KU, for example, going from assistant AD for compliance to associate AD for inclusive excellence, different conversations, being in different rooms, different exposure allows you to bring different experiences to the table when you have those conversations. And so, when I was at K-State, for example, I really got into student-athlete development, and that's kind of what DEIB resides in, is student-athlete development. Didn't know that was a space that really existed, and that's when, being a part of our student-athlete advisory council as an advisor, helping our student-athletes who are leaders in our space come up with legislation, come up with direction for the athletic department, that's really what opened my eyes to that space. And then Northern Illinois, being in an organizational leadership role, that's when I really started to think about campus partnerships and corporate sponsorships and facilities master plans. Like I really started thinking that global aspect of college athletics. So definitely every place I've been, I've definitely tried to take a nugget or two to bring back.
Nice. And when you were a student, I know you talked about being involved in the women's basketball program, you're a journalism student. Any other time for activities? It sounds like you had a pretty full slate.
Yeah, I was on the ad staff when I was an undergrad here at the J School. Also wrote for the Kansan. I had, tutored at the multicultural, Sabatini Multicultural Center, as well as an avid tutor for the Lawrence Free State and Lawrence High. So I was pretty busy. But that really prepared me for, an industry that is nonstop, right? Sports, particularly that of college athletics, there's always something going on, and really, enabled me to be well-rounded when it came to time management. So I enjoyed every moment of it.
And did you feel you did develop some pretty solid time management skills?
I like to think so. I like to think so. And really probably the best thing I've developed over that time was knowing when it was time for me to take a break, to say no, like, hey, I'd love to participate in this space, but I need a weekend to recharge, right, or whatever that might look like. But I definitely think the different activities I participate over my time help prepare me for this industry. And
I think in your job description, I noticed you also play a role in recruitment, right? Of underrepresented groups. I mean, in terms of like staffing, and I don't know if that applies to coaches, but can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's multifaceted. So in addition to my role as Associate AD for Inclusive Excellence, I'm also the sport administrator for our track and field program. So essentially, that main conduit to helping our track and field program from if we need facility upgrades, or if we're up in a national landscape and we need representation, student athlete academic success, student athlete well-being. I mean, really the whole gambit. So I help recruiting from that aspect with every student athlete prospect who comes in who wants to be a part of the track program. And then from a athletic department standpoint, with my associate AD for inclusive excellence role, being a part of those organizational conversations on equity adjustments for compensation, or being intentional about recruitment. Are we posting our jobs in places where individuals from marginalized communities can participate in those job searches, and then being on actual interviews when folks come onto campus, or having those Zoom interviews throughout the process. So been a part of head coaches searches, been a part of staff, but then maybe the one I'm most proud of is our pathway program through the John McClendon Foundation. And so, no, I'm talking to a bunch of Jayhawks, and we all know who John McClendon is, but the foundation that was created through him has a entry-level pathway program for folks from traditionally marginalized communities who want to get into college athletics. And we created a partnership, kind of going back to what I mentioned with Adidas and them wanting to be better partners in that space when it comes to DEIB. They give us the financial resources to hire 3 people who are fresh out of college who want to get into college athletics. So trying to have it all facets, from student to staff to student athlete, and really be active in that piece of it.
Speaking of college athletics, your name is Paul Pierce. What kind of challenges does that pose in Lawrence? Or is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or do you point to the jersey in the rafter and say, hey, Pierce? How does that work out in Lawrence?
So everybody usually responds to my email, which is cool. And my wife and I get really good reservations in Lawrence, which is also cool. Sometimes, depending on where I am, like our good friends in Manhattan didn't care for it too much. I hadn't had a chance to really converse with any of our Mizzou colleagues, but besides a handful, which I already knew prior to kind of getting into this space. No, it's a good icebreaker, to be honest with you. Obviously, what Paul did for our institution as a really great Jayhawk, a student athlete, is great, and I just want to do something similar, and create a name for myself where at least gives people a moment to pause and be like, okay, wait a minute, are you the Paul Pierce who's in athletic administration, or are you the basketball player? That's kind of the goal.
And have you met him in person, or it sounds like you might have got close in New Orleans?
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, it's funny, right? So I'm Paul Pierce's second. Right, so everybody really, tries to do the quick math and quickly realizes that that's not possible for him to be my dad. But what's funny is my dad went to KU, and my dad played college basketball. But my dad played college basketball at William Jewell in Kansas City, up in Liberty, and he came here for law school. So I always joke with him, like, I could have been what everybody thought I was, if you would have walked on here instead. But no, my parents have met him. I have not met him yet. Got close in New Orleans, traveling with the team. He obviously stayed at our team hotel with us, which was great. But he was a little more popular than I was, so he had some meetings in media to get to that I didn't have to go to. So
does your dad ever have fun with it, or how does that work out with your dad?
Well, Dad being a little older than Paul, it kind of missed that space. So it's certainly with just me, to be honest, which is fine.
And before you go, I always like to ask our alums, I know graduation 2 or 3 weeks away, what advice would you have for, say, the class of 22, either journalism students or just grads in general? I know they've been through a lot the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, a couple. The first I would say is reach out to your fellow Jayhawks. We're everywhere. It's amazing how many folks are connected to our campus, whether it's, had the opportunity to work here in a capacity or we're actual students here. My favorite thing about being a Jayhawk is our mascot and how recognizable it is. And you'll be at an airport in Dubai, and somebody will say Rock Chalk to you. It's immediate togetherness and recognition. So don't hesitate to reach out to folks, particularly those who are Jayhawks, and then just enjoy the moments. I know a lot of people talk about college being the best years of your life. It really is. It's a lot of fun, and walking through the Campanile was something that I'll never forget. And walking down the hill and seeing my family there, and just a jubilation of seeing something come to fruition after years of studying and enjoying being a student, and it's a good time. So those are 2 things I would definitely recommend.
Well said, Paul. Hey, I appreciate you making a trip up the hill.
Yeah, of course.
You've been doing great work the last 7 years. I know. I love your new mug.
Got it,
I think you created it yourself, but I love that logo. So yeah, cheers to your careers and keep it up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Rock Chalk.